Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. This is going to be the first video in a series of artifact testing. It's way too many artifacts. It's 22 artifacts to do in one video. That would be like 2 hours long. Even if I separated it into like tanks and healers in one video and like DPS and controllers in the next one, it's still going to be like 40-minute videos. Like even this video alone is 15 minutes, and that's just the 5 tank artifacts that I'm getting into and their summary basically. So I'm going to do one video on tanks, one video on healers, one video on the control artifacts and the DPS artifacts. And the DPS artifacts will have like the miscellaneous ones like Omegahedron and Philosopher's Stone and stuff like that. So you know, this is the video you're going to be seeing first, but all the other uploads will be done today as well, so don't worry about it. And then once all of the uploads are done, I will have each upload linked in the pinned comment section of the video. So if you watch this tank video but you want to know what the healer ones are, you know, just stay tuned for that pinned comment. It may not be out at a release because I'm uploading these kind of staggered, but don't worry about it. The videos will be coming and they will be subsequently uploaded in a row. So let's kind of get into the tank ones here. So I'm going to do a summary first and then basically break down the testing. Okay, so this is basically going to be like an introductory to the summary of the tank artifacts. I wanted to do this kind of brief overview first before we get into the actual video, which is basically breaking down what everything looks like. So I know most of you want to know the XP levels. So basically at 160 we're used to basically 680,000 XP. To get to 180 you need 1,178,000. And to rank 200, the big one, is 1 million XP exactly. So to get from 160 to 200, basically what we're dealing with on live server when this DLC hits is 1 million XP. That's how much we need. So not too bad considering what we thought it would be. I thought it would be like, you know, doubled here and then doubled again. So this is a little bit less than double, but it's certainly way less than double here for this one. We're thinking it would be like 2 million XP for this, but it's not bad. 500,000 XP to get from 180 to 200. And these are just the base stats at rank 200. You can kind of compare them to what your artifacts are now. It's some pretty good increases, I think. The 7650 health, I think that's around like a 3,000 health increase. And then I know the Dom and the Refractor, I think it's like 318 or 322, something like that. So it's pretty much double the Dom. So the base stats are a pretty hefty increase as well. In terms of catalysts have changed drastically from what we're used to. So basically right now on live server, we're used to all these catalysts here. So basically rank 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160 all have separate catalysts and they need 3 catalysts each. So what they're doing is they're consolidating all the catalysts. So basically all the catalysts that you see here listed will go down to 3. So the 3 that are going to stay are Denesium, let's see, quantum field energy, and paradox energy. So that's why, you know, Denesium, quantum field energy, and paradox energy. So it's basically those are the only catalysts that are staying. Everything else, catalysts, basically what you can do is you can use them or basically consume them for 10 source marks, and then the prices stay the same. So it's still 10 source marks for to buy catalyst cache off the Constantine vendor. So basically if you have like a superior paradox energy, that's useless now. So basically you would just consume that for 10 source marks and then you could turn that into a paradox energy. So you don't lose any catalyst by doing this. They all equal out to be the same. So basically at rank 180 you need 24 catalysts. So 9 Denesium, 8 quantum, and 7 paradox. And then at rank 200 you need 27 of them. The breakthrough percent chance, that's another big one I'm sure you wanted to know. It's 5% at 180 and 3% at 200. So basically these ones are going to be literally impossible. If you don't have a seal of completion, don't even bother. Don't test your luck to get a 3% breakthrough chance at 200 with 27 catalysts. It's just completely pointless. You could call pay to win, but you know that's a lot of it with the artifact system. But if you remember the completion catalyst, seal of completion, sorry, I think it's like 450 station cash, so it's basically $5. You get 500 station cash monthly as your allowance, so you could do one a month if you want to spend it on that. But a seal of completion is 100% necessary for these 200 artifacts, even the 180 artifacts, because you're just not realistically going to get a 3 and a 5% breakthrough to work. Rank 180, the only thing that really changes is the innate percentage increase. So for Gemini, you get 1% on every category. Refractor is 1% Dom, 1% Resto, Dom, Power on the Lassiter Pit water. So pretty standard across the board for 180. You don't get any extra special effects at all. So for the rank bonuses, I'm going to get more in detail in the video itself, but Gemini, basically you get a new proc on Caster's Watch. So if you're standing in a tank or healer Gemini, you get 5% Dom, health, and resto while you stand in it for 6 seconds. So with the Refractor, you get basically right now it's 17.25%. And then it's 30% at 160. So rank 200 is 19, so an extra 2%, 19.25, and the effect is 50% stronger up from 30. So Mystic Syndrome 7 largely stays the same. Instead of 3% defense increase, it's 5%, and instead of 15, it's 20. That's the only change there. Mystic. Manacles sees a huge proc, which you'll see in the video. So when Manacles procs, the cooldown on primary tank shields are instantly reset. So Density, Gemstone Shield, Immolation, Redirected Rage, and Winter Ward. And then the other kind of broken one at the moment is Lassiter Pit Water. At rank 200, you get a self-revive every 15 minutes. Which is down from an hour at 160. So let's get into the video here, and you'll be able to see more details. Okay, to show the stats at 160 at the artifact. So I have the Gemini, 160, this is what we're all used to. Caster's Watch relating to tanks and healers, restore 3% health and 2% supercharge every second. And when Caster Watch expires, all allies will be healed for the amount of health restored by Caster's Watch. So basically all the healing you get back from your Gemini circle, it gets healed back all at once. When it expires, and basically the new rank you don't get at 160, which is what we're used to. Okay, so you previously saw what the Eye of the Gemini was at 160. Now at rank 200, the only thing that changes is there's an extra proc to it. Standing in any Caster's Watch grants you 5% dominance, health, and restoration. This is not to be confused with Pollux's Gauge, which is the DPS and controller side of the Gemini. So basically, anytime a tank or healer pops a supercharge, if you're standing in it as a tank or healer, primarily since we're talking about tanks, you as a tank would get, so anytime you pop a supercharge, you would get 5% dominance, health, and restoration while you're standing in that Caster's Watch. And then Caster's Watch is then dictated by what your rank is. So if it's since at 160, it's going to last for 6 seconds. So for 6 seconds, you get 5% extra dominance, health, and restoration. And this applies to, like, if you're a DPS standing in a tank Caster's Watch, you would get the health regen, the supercharged regen, as well as the 5% dominance, health, and restoration. So it becomes very powerful at 200. It's one of those things where it's going to be like if you're proccing, as I say, it's a nature healer proccing bug form all the time. If you're not only is that bug healer going to get 5% like restoration buff and dominance for the shields and healing and some health, the tank, if you're standing near that nature healer, you would get the dominance as well. Same thing. So it's much more incentive for tanks to be running supercharges again. It changed a little bit when Gemini wasn't as powerful, when it didn't give the complete supercharge regen, where you could just spam it like with a dash attack before the 30-second cooldown. So if you choose to get Gemini 200 as a tank, it's going to be one of those situations where you're always going to want to run a shield, because for that, supercharge, because whenever you pop that supercharge, not only do you get the supercharged regen for everyone around you, you get the health regen as well, which is not as good, but can be still beneficial, and then you also get this 5% bonus in stats for the 6 seconds. So depending on when you use it, if it's like a boss fight, if you're struggling, you pop supercharge to survive. Not only is your shield going to be stronger because you just got health restoration by 5%. So if you're popping dash attack gets strong, absorbs more damage because of the higher dominance and restoration. But also for those 6 seconds, you also get higher base health. So it kind of it extends the effectiveness of your supercharge. So it's very good at the 200. So you can just pop it here. We're in combat. So now if I go down here, we've got. Should have given me. Okay, well, it didn't show up in combat effects, so let's try that again. Let's wait for dash attack to cool down, and let's check the stats here. Then it should have showed up in the combat log. Okay, so right now we're sitting at 1093. I'm wearing a DPS gear, so that's why the dominance is boosted. I'm not actually wearing tank gear at the moment, but it doesn't matter. So health 63 and 10903 resto. So let's see if it actually goes up by 5% when I use it. We're in combat. 66, yeah, 14. Restorations 11427, and the dominance there. So yeah, so it did go up. It just didn't show in the combat effects. So that's something that we'll have to get adjusted as well. But it does apply the effects there. Okay, for the Distor Refractor, so basically at 160, it gave 17.25% of your total dominance, and this effect was 30% stronger when you used it as a tank. The 17.25 just went to the group. And then at 200, it's 19.25%, and this effect is 50% more effective in tank roll. So if we do that here, my base health 67,757. I use a pull on an enemy. The refractor 28.75. It was 22 point something before, but I'll kind of show it here. So now my health goes up to 70,195, which works out to be about 2,400 increase. 2438. That's correct. Yeah, 2,438 increase. So obviously, since my dominance is lower, it's not as much of an increase because I'm wearing like DPS gear. So obviously I'm being boosted to the minimum dominance, where most people will probably be sitting at almost 20,000 dominance in proper tank spec. So overall, is it something that's going to be heavily desired or effective? Like, yes, because the big difference is at rank 160, you get the extra % of dom. So you do get a hefty dom increase. So basically here, like even the difference from rank 200 to rank, this is rank 170, so just past 160, it's a health increase of 3,264 health and 272 dom. So the 200 dom is nice, but that's a hefty health increase on that artifact as well because of the 5% health buff. So it's still going to be a very powerful artifact at rank 200. Is it something you need to put all your nth metal in right away? No, there's better tank artifacts there, but it's certainly an artifact that benefits from the rank 200 increase. Okay, so we got the Mystic Symbol to 7. So when hit by an enemy, increase defense by 3% for each enemy within 5 yards to a maximum of 15%. Increased healing received by 10%, and regenerate a small amount of health based on your restoration each time you're struck by an enemy. So each time an enemy hits you, which every time they hit you within a quarter of a second, you get small healing based on your restoration. That's at 160, and that's what we're used to on live server. Okay, so in regards to the Mystic Symbol of the 7, there's not much changes here at rank 200. It still has the exact same increased healing by 10%, still has the exact same regenerated small amount of health based on restoration each quarter second hit by an enemy. The only thing that changes is the defense increase. So at rank 160, as you just saw previously, it's at 3% to a maximum of 15, and now it's 5% to a maximum of 20. So if we jump down here, and pull stuff here. Now if we go here, Mystic Symbol of 7, 20% defense because there's more enemies here. So what's that? 3, 6, like 7 enemies. So the amount of healing I would receive, the exact same. That doesn't change. The amount of healing received I get, exact same. The only thing that has changed is you get basically 2% extra defense. So once again, is it an artifact that's worth the million XP to get from 160 to 200? Not necessarily. There's certainly better tank artifacts out there, but it's just something that can help you with. Like say, like Isis will be helpful just for the extra defense, but say for like a rage tank or even like atomic or earth, like it's not necessary because they already have high defense anyway. So getting an extra 2% defense up to a maximum of 20% is not as beneficial. Is it going to help with like a huge dogpile of ads? It certainly will, but you already have tank ways and other effects to mitigate that damage. Okay, for the Manacles of Force at 160, Unshakable States last for 5 seconds when attack damage is for at least 30% of your health. So when you take a chunk of health, at least 30% of your maximum health. Basically, you get that unshakable state for 5 seconds, which basically means that you absorb 50% of incoming damage and reapplies it over the next 5 seconds. So it basically, if you take a hit for 100k, that's half, so you only take 50k, and then the other 50k is spread out over 5 seconds as a damage over time. and the cooldown on that is 45 seconds. And the shields reduce cooldown. All shields are reduced by 10%. That's what we're used to at 160. Okay, so you previously just saw what the Manacles was at 160, just as a reminder. A lot of it stays the same, so still 50% of incoming damage when reload over 5 seconds. The cooldown is still 45 seconds, and shield cooldowns are still reduced by 10 seconds. But the main difference with 200 is the new Unshakable trigger. This is what makes it the best tank artifact ever. So when Unshakable triggers, the following ability cooldowns are reset. So Density, Gemstone Shield, Immolation, Redirected Rage, and Winter Ward are automatically reset. So the primary shields for each power set. So if I go into, where Doomsday go here? Okay, so I'm going to be popping Winter Ward, go into it. It's procced it. Now I've got Winter Ward back. And there we go. So basically, what this means to a tank is that if I'm in a situation where I'm going to take 30% of my health, so as fire this procs a lot, obviously, but it's rage, like a rage crash or something like that. So if you properly redirect a rage to save a rage crash is high enough that it goes through redirected rage and takes 30% of your health. Well, then you just go redirected rage back. So you got the shield back again. So basically, since the other 50% is spread out over that 5 seconds, or if you're getting hit by ads or a boss or whatever, you get redirected rage back again. So basically, you can use back-to-back shields, which considering Gemstone Shield and Winter Ward are really strong shields. They're the strongest out of the bunch. Redirected Rage is okay. Immolation and Density are weak, but still they're the only shields those power sets have. So even when you think of like Atomic, if you pop Density, your aura drops, you take a big hit, Manacles procs, well now I get Density back. So you can pop Density again, which gives you time to get back into your combos again to activate the aura. So, or, this works out great for Earth tanks because Gemstone Shield's by far the strongest shield for a tank. So if Brick dies, if you're using like a Brick build, if Brick dies, or you pop Gemstone Shield, Brick dies, you get a Manacles proc, well, now you got Gemstone Shield back. So you can, clip Brick with Gemstone Shield, and then you got Brick back out, and the strongest shield proc. So it's a really, really great addition. And then you also get the 4% dominance up from 3%. So, Manacles definitely becomes the most desired artifact for rank 200. If you're a tank, 100% get this one first. It's just, I think it's been 45 seconds again. We can kind of just show it off again if I can find Doomsday. Okay, so Winter Ward. I'm in it, taking the big hits. There's my Manacle proc. Winter Ward back up. So it just makes it so you can take, massive damage in a situation, because you can pop your strongest power set shield. The damage attack can go through your most powerful power set shield, then can proc a Manacles proc, so you lose 30% of your health, and then you get your strongest power shield back to use again. You get to use it again not only for the Manacles proc, or if the healer was slow or something like that, but since it's damage over time, the Manacles damage over time is really offset by healer. But if it's like a whole bunch of ads, you get a big hit from an ad, you're really low health. Well, now I got my shield back, so I can survive the ads, and it gives a chance for the healers to get your health back up. So it's just a very powerful artifact now at rank 200. Definitely one of the best additions. Okay, the Lassiter Pit water at 160, basically just sell for value to yourself once every hour. That's all it does at 160. Okay, so in terms of the Lassiter Pit water, I'm classifying this as a tank artifact because the way this works at 200, it's more for tanks than really anything else. It's really broken for survival mode if that ever comes back. I'm certainly going to push for this to be changed at least to 30 minutes. So essentially what it is, the only thing that changes at Lassiter Pit water at rank 200 is that you can self-revive yourself once every 15 minutes. There's boss fights in the elite that last longer than 15 minutes. 15 minutes is not much time at all. Even a survival mode round at like round 30 was like 40 minutes. So you could say as a tank, you could basically revive yourself twice in a round 30 round by yourself. Or even longer than that. Like you could have, if you had 4 players with 200 rank Lassiter Pit water, you could all die and just revive yourself multiple times every 15 minutes in survival mode. So if a player like on Ultimate Soldier died to a flamethrower, I'll just pick myself up when he moves. Or if the tank dies to a mortar strike, I'll just pick myself up. The other group just has to survive, and if they accidentally die, well, they can revive themselves too, because it's once every 15 minutes. So that I would classify this as broken right now. But that's essentially what it is. So basically Yeah, I'm taking damage. So Lassiter Pit water at rank 160 was an hour. An hour is not realistic because nothing really lasts an hour. So as you can see, backspace for whatever reason is my self-revive timer. That's interesting. I never used backspace before for anything, but backspace, I'm back up, and as you can see, I died again, and the timer is at 14, basically ticking down from 15 minutes. So the way it is now, that's that's a little bit too overpowered, 15 minutes. If it was 30 minutes, I think that'd be completely fine. It's one of those things where if they put this, leave it at 15 minutes, you're forced to get this pretty much if you want to have, like, not forced, but the advantage you would get by running this as a player for those really hard instances like elite final fights or anything to do with survival mode is just way too important to have to spend 1.7 million XP on it. Or a million from the 600 XP increase if you had it around 160, but hardly, I'd say less than 1% of the server has this at 160 anyway. So it's an artifact right now that it's incredibly broken at 200. We'll see if they get this changed, but a self-revive every 15 minutes is ridiculous for a tank. That's for sure.